There are moments when the Chargers front office tests our patience in a way that feels almost personal. The team cleared major cap space, moved on from important pieces, kept a player a lot of people still underrate, and now there are signs they could attack one of the most overlooked needs on this offense. But let me tell you something right now. What may be coming at the end of this whole plan could change Herbert's protection and this franchise's ceiling in one shot. Would you trust this strategy completely? Drop a like, subscribe, and stay locked in, because this conversation is serious, uncomfortable, and maybe a whole lot more exciting than it looks on the surface. You know that feeling when no matter how talented Justin Herbert is, the offense still seems one injury away from falling apart? That is exactly what this team lived through. The Chargers created breathing room by moving on from Mekhi Becton and Will Dissly. They gave themselves one of the biggest cap cushions in football. They already attacked the middle of the offensive line with Tyler Biadasz. But building a real offense is not just about keeping your quarterback upright. It is also about making sure your run game does not vanish the second adversity shows up. And that is why bringing back Kimani Vidal matters more than people want to admit. On paper, an ERFA tender does not sound sexy. It does not win the headline war. It does not make fans jump out of their seats. But smart teams do not build only through splash. Smart teams keep useful, cheap, ascending players in the building and save the heavy money for the true pressure points. That is what this move feels like, because Vidal was not just another body in the backfield. When injuries hit and the structure started wobbling, he answered. He stepped into real work. He kept the run game alive. He gave this offense a pulse when things could have gone sideways fast. That matters. It matters because if this new system really wants to become more creative, more physical, more unpredictable, then the backfield cannot be built on one name and a prayer. So let me ask you straight up, do you trust Vidal as a real RB2? Or do you still think the Chargers need to bring in another proven back before this room feels complete? That is the debate. Because while some people see a depth move, others see a player who can quietly save 2 or 3 games over the course of a season. And in this league, those are the games that decide whether you are dangerous in January or watching from the couch. But keeping a useful runner is one thing. Giving Herbert more tactical answers in the middle of the field, that takes this conversation to a completely different level. There are needs on offense that fans spot immediately. Wide receiver, interior line, explosive speed outside. But there is another one that gets ignored until the pocket gets muddy and your quarterback suddenly needs a quick answer between the numbers. Then everybody notices. Then everybody starts asking why the team did not get ahead of it. That is why the Jonnu Smith rumor cannot be brushed off like some random off-season noise. No, Jonnu is not the flashy name. No, he is not the move that would break the internet. But this is exactly the type of move smart offensive minds love. A movable piece, a matchup tool. A guy who can line up in different spots, stress linebackers, create easy throws, and make an offense less predictable. If the Chargers really want to expand what they are offensively instead of recycling the same old formula, then this kind of fit matters. And yes, this is where Bolt fam gets split right down the middle. Some fans hear Jonnu Smith and immediately think of underwhelming production. A guy who never truly became a consistent star. A veteran name with more reputation than juice. Fair. Totally fair. His recent numbers are not going to blow anyone away. But football is not just about staring at raw stats and calling it a day. Sometimes the real value is in the fit, in the role, in the stress a player puts on a defense before the ball is even snapped. If this offense is going to lean into motion, misdirection, condensed formations, and middle-of-the-field answers for Herbert, then Jonnu makes sense. Maybe not as a savior, maybe not as a headline, but absolutely as one of those under-the-radar moves that suddenly starts showing up on third down, in the red zone, and in the kind of ugly moments that decide games. So be honest with me. Would you take Jonnu Smith on a short, low-risk deal? Or would that feel like another half measure from a front office that still does not want to swing big? Because that is the line here. One side sees flexibility, value, and bounce-back upside. The other sees another just okay fix at a spot that could become a problem in a hurry. And that brings us to the kind of off-season decision that hits fans in the chest before it ever hits the whiteboard. Because now we are talking about emotion. We are talking about memory. We are talking about a player who means something to this franchise. Keenan Allen came back and still gave this team real production. He was reliable. He was familiar. He was still clearly one of Herbert's comfort blankets. That matters. Chemistry matters. Trust matters. And fans feel that stuff. They do. But the NFL is cold. The NFL does not pay you for memories. It pays for what you are about to be, not what you used to be for us. And that is why the Mike Evans conversation is so explosive. Re-signing Keenan feels safe. It feels natural. It feels like home. Going after Mike Evans feels different. That feels like ambition. That feels like power. That feels like telling the league you are done pretending WR2 types can carry WR1 gravity. Evans changes the picture. He changes how defenses line up. He changes how coverage rolls. He changes how much room Ladd McConkey gets to work. He changes the pressure on Quentin Johnston. He gives Herbert a true alpha target, the kind of guy who can turn a tight window throw into a momentum swing. So let me throw the real question at you. Would you trade the emotional comfort of Keenan Allen for the physical dominance of Mike Evans? Because that is not just a roster question. That is an identity question. And if this breakdown hits home and you want to see the Chargers back where they belong, crush that like button and subscribe right now. It helps the Bolt fam grow, and this offseason is only getting hotter from here. The hard truth is this. Keenan still gives you savvy, hands, route feel, and history with Herbert. But Evans bends the field. He tilts coverages. He brings a level of presence this offense has been missing. He is the kind of move that says you are trying to build something defenses actually fear. But as massive as that debate is, it still may not be the most important thing happening here. Because the biggest move of all might not be flashy. It might not sell jerseys overnight. It might not trend the hardest on social media. It might just decide whether this offense actually has a future. This is where everything gets real. Because roster tweaks are one thing, rumors are one thing, veteran additions are one thing, but there is a different kind of move that changes the spine of a franchise. That is why the Caden Proctor buzz matters so much. If the Chargers really are looking at a player like that in the draft, then this is not just about filling a hole. This is about drawing a line in the sand. We all watched the same thing last year. Interior pressure, dirty pockets, Herbert getting heat right up the gut. The center spot became a problem. Guard play became unstable. Injuries and inconsistency turned the inside of this line into a weekly stress test. And if there is one thing this franchise cannot keep doing, it is asking Justin Herbert to survive chaos instead of command games. That is why a player like Proctor becomes so fascinating. Massive frame, rare power, real positional flexibility. Maybe he kicks inside right away and becomes a tone setter at guard. Maybe he gives you emergency tackle insurance too. Either way, the message would be loud and clear. We are done playing games with Herbert's protection. And that is bigger than one draft pick. That is culture. That is philosophy. That is an organization admitting the truth. There is no creative offense, no dominant rushing attack, no January run, no Super Bowl dream if the heart of the offensive line keeps leaking pressure. You can already hear the fan base splitting in two. One side says using a premium pick on a polarizing lineman is too risky. The other side says the real risk is watching Herbert get hammered again while pretending another shiny skill player will magically fix everything. Honestly, I get both sides. But when the need is this obvious, outside consensus matters a whole lot less than what the Chargers believe internally. And that is the part that ties this whole thing together. Vidal only matters more if the blocking improves. Jonnu only helps more if the middle of the field can function in rhythm. Mike Evans only changes the offense if Herbert actually has time to let those routes breathe. In the end, the hidden move that could define this offseason may not be glamorous at all. It may be the one that finally tells the truth about what this franchise has to become. That is why the overall feeling right now is so clear. The Chargers are not just stacking names. They are trying to redesign the identity of this offense. Vidal gives them stability. Jonnu would bring cheap creativity. Mike Evans would scream real ambition. And Proctor, if that ends up being the move, would be a brutal statement about priorities and the future of Justin Herbert. I like the direction. I do. But direction without execution does not win the division. It does not win in January. It does not silence the doubters. So now it is your turn. Is this offseason building a real contender? Or is it just selling the fan base a prettier version of hope? Let me know in the comments, share this with another Chargers fan, and as always, bolt up.